Thank you for joining us today. This is the Content Marketing Hub of the Caribbean. We are joined today by people all over the world. I recognize a few faces here. We've got Minnesota, we've got Canada, we've got all over. So I'm really excited that we're joined today by Steph Crigler, who is a HubSpot Principal Product Marketing Manager. She is a fantastic wealth of resources for the whole Content Hub. And today we're going to be talking about how we can use some of the new Content Hub tools to shift our content marketing strategy. Because I don't know about you, but I've seen with my clients across the board, the AI search results are really shaking things up. And how we think about our content strategy, produce it and distribute it really needs to be reevaluated. So enough of me talking. I'm going to kick it over to Steph and she can take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the welcome. So yes, my name is Steph Crigler. I'm one of the product marketing managers for Content Hub. I'm on the line from HubSpot today, and so is my colleague Lukas, who is a product lead for Content Hub. So at the end, he just flashed on. When we do Q&A, you'll have a lot of knowledge and expertise here to kind of dive in. But I am going to spend a majority of our time walking through this shift that was referenced. We're going to talk about why Content Hub is more than just a CMS Hub or rebrand. And when we launched Content Hub, it was really a response to how the market is evolving, because it's not just about websites anymore. It's not just about inbound marketing, certainly a part of the landscape, but it's much more now. And like Tanya said, we need to evolve our inbound marketing playbook to really keep up. So we will talk today about how Content Hub delivers on that through both features available today, as well as features coming down the road. But first, I have to kick off with this lovely disclaimer. Because we are talking about the roadmap, I need to flash this legal disclaimer about forward-looking statements. Thank you for indulging the legal slide, but my obligation to state we can't promise future availability of products. But I want to actually start out by asking all of you how you would score your content marketing efforts today. So if you can, throw an A, B, C, D, don't be shy. No one will judge you around how you feel your content marketing efforts are. Let's talk about A being you're doing an exceptional job at attracting lots of leads, your content's getting consumed on the daily. B, you're doing a good job of getting eyeballs and leads, and C, you're doing an average or okay job. Any A, Bs, and Cs out there on your own content marketing efforts? A plus, what we strive for, some Bs. Yeah, and I'd love, since this is a smaller group, I believe, for anyone who would score themselves a C or below, feel free to come off mute and let us know why you feel you're scoring that way. What are the challenges you're kind of up against? Would love to hear, and I'm sure many can relate on the line. So if anyone wants to be brave and come off mute, give me some of your challenges that are making you a C.
I'll jump in here that we have seen across the board for our clients a decline in organic traffic, which can be really, really intimidating. But we've seen it across the board. So that can be really scary as an inbound marketer when organic traffic is like the KPI. So that gets really scary.
Definitely. And so we will be talking about that today. Absolutely. Awesome. So before we get into that conversation, I do want to take a trip down memory lane 15 years ago when content and inbound marketing was just really starting and flourishing. And truthfully, it felt a lot like what is happening today with AI. But to take us back, we had Gangnam Style, huge hit, Taylor Swift releasing Shake It Off. It's really funny to me, and I'm sure to others, to think how far dances for music have come with TikTok. Now it's like one of the main forms of content produced and consumed today. And then we had challenges. Who remembers them? Who did them? We had the Ice Bucket Challenge, the Planking Challenge, Harlem Shake. Most of them were fun, unless the Tide Pod Challenge got a little sketchy there. The Cinnamon Challenge, no fun. But we also had entertainment, a huge decade for entertainment that has just continued. Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Frozen, The Avengers. And the TLDR here is that content was really on the rise. Virality was on the rise. videos, challenges going viral. And part of the reason that's on the rise is because social media is also booming. Facebook and Twitter are continuing to accelerate. Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, those are all launching and flourishing. While there were some apps that were rising and falling, Vine, rest in peace, Google Plus, rest in peace. But we also had technology-wise the first iPads getting released. Skype is maybe bringing along that first flavor of remote work. AWS in the cloud becoming mainstream. Mobile apps are booming. If you can remember a time when there wasn't an app for that, it was 15 years ago. And then Amazon released Echo, another crazy one for me when I think about the TikTok and the evolution there. Echo was our assistant, and now we are in the world of agents, and it's wild. And then lastly, if we look at marketing, omnichannel is starting to become a new strategy. Influencers are getting started, but really the king of marketing at the time, queen of marketing at the time, was inbound marketing. And inbound marketing, hopefully you're all familiar with it. It's what HubSpot was really founded on, right? This belief that businesses should be delivering value, usually by way of educational content, before extracting it. And so a typical content marketing strategy looked a lot like this, pretty linear. You'd write blogs, that educational content to deliver value and convert anonymous visitors into contacts. And then you could nurture with emails and eventually convert them into customers. A simpler time. Quantity really began to reign supreme here, as you can imagine, as companies really fought for rankings on their educational content in search engines. And when we fast forward today, content marketing is still important. It's more important than ever, actually. 84% of marketers say content is the most important part of marketing, and 50% of content marketers will increase their investment, the highest of any marketing channel. But the problem is that content marketing has changed a lot over the years. We've started to talk about this. The same content playbook from 12 years ago isn't as effective as it used to be. So when we think about some of the change that has brought in that need to evolve your playbook, the first is search, going through massive changes. Google is now starting to answer those informational searches for you, and many users have transitioned a majority of their searches to Perplexity, ChatGPT. And really the effect of this is that marketers are seeing reductions in search traffic. Search was a cornerstone of content marketing, and it's being massively disrupted right now, which harks back to what we talked about being a scary challenge we're starting to see. And then the next change is the types of content being created, with video and audio really displacing text. Text is certainly not dead by any means, but audio and video are more convenient. They're more accessible. They provide deeper engagement. They're more entertaining. And studies actually show that people retain information better when it's through audio or video. A really simple look at how much time folks spend on Reels or TikTok is really proof of this. And then the next change is where content is being consumed. So attention is now not just in blogs and emails, we're everywhere. Users are scattered across channels and formats like podcasts, YouTube, video shorts, blogs, emails. The list really continues to go on. And marketers now have so many more channels to publish to and then continue monitoring, etc. And then because of all that noise, buyers are tuning it out. They have to, because there's just too much out there. And to really tune out and hone in, a lot of buyers are turning to individuals instead. They're trusting individuals more than brands. This is a trend that we are seeing and we have seen. And I think a good example of that is for anyone out there that adds Reddit or YouTube to the end of your searches, that's an example of you looking for community and individuals to validate your searches more than a brand or a company that probably has an agenda. And then finally, how you create content is now more about quality and brand than it has ever been. And creating meaningful content that stands out means marketers need to start thinking like creators. We'll talk a lot about this in the next part of this, but you need to create high quality content that's opinionated, targeted, personalized. It needs an expert point of view. It needs to be meticulously planned. But all of that, unfortunately, needs to be supported across many formats and channels to meet your customers everywhere they are. So it feels like quantity and quality are rising together, and how do you maintain that balance? Because once you capture your audience's attention, you need to personalize their touch points in the right place and the right time with the right message. And this is all with the same amount of resources that we had a decade ago. And that probably sounds exhausting, because it is. And marketers confirm it is. 70% of marketers say content marketing is harder than ever before. And 54% of marketers say content marketing tools really aren't keeping up with their needs. And so how do we not just stay afloat and survive, but thrive in this new landscape? And the answer is to adapt that new playbook. And the good news is marketers are adaptable. We are indeed. So I'll review some of the biggest shifts that we're seeing some of the best content marketers make. And then we'll talk about some of the tools we've built to help you execute those shifts and kind of what next steps you can take. So the first shift, I've already alluded to this, think like a creator. And I'm just gonna prove how important this is through a kind of this or that exercise by asking you who you trust more. In this theoretical situation, we have a big data company, Biglytics. Do you trust their company blog, or do you trust a big data influencer on YouTube? Drop it in the chat. I think I can guess where a lot of these answers are going. Neither. Fair enough, Sabrina. Influencer. Yes, me too. All right, who do you trust more? The company blog or Reddit data analysis thread? Yep, we're seeing a trend here on this or that. And then who do you trust more, the blog or a Perplexity answer summary? This one's a little bit of a spin on this. Blog from David. Blog. I think this one can be a mixed bag, especially because AI is newer and the trust factor is still building. But I think we will hopefully move more towards trusting that answer summary, hopefully, meaning as users, as brands, not so hopeful, but again, we're going to talk about how to address that. But I think the crux of that really being that once we begin to trust AI, it's taking all the information out there and helping us summarize so that we don't have to do it. But that is kind of a curveball, this or that in this series. So, but ultimately my main message here is that customers are trusting individuals and communities over companies. Why is that? First, it's the authenticity. Buyers are more likely to trust recommendations from peers or individuals versus, like I said, a company they know are trying to sell them something. Second is quality. Creators know how to make good content. They literally spend their lives, their careers, keeping a pulse on trends, knowing what works, what doesn't, what are their audiences looking for. They live and breathe in the content world. And then third is connection. We're all looking for more connection, now more than ever. The rise of AI, remote work, and creators, sometimes too much so, bring us into their lives. I follow too many influencers that I know like what their bedroom looks like, but truly, they build relationships. That is something they specialize, and they do that way more than a brand can. So we are yearning for that connection, which is what makes us gravitate towards trusting individuals and creators. Personal example for me, I have a 1.5-year-old. So I became quite ingrained in taking care of babies and Kara's life here. She's a baby sleep consultant. I found her on one of my early morning doom scrolls, trying to get my baby to sleep. And she has so much content, not just blog content, but she's very active on Instagram, posting stories about her life, about her tips. And eventually I purchased one of her courses. Granted, I was probably desperately sleep deprived, and that also contributed to the purchase. But so was the relatability and the relationship building that she did made me feel like it was worth purchasing a course from her. And so some action items here is during the invention of content marketing, we really touted how B2B companies needed to become media companies. Today, with the reinvention of content marketing, B2B companies really need to start becoming creators. And so one of the ways you can do that is by championing individuals as creators alongside your brand. One great example of this at HubSpot is Kyle Jepsen. We know him, we love him. He is the creator of HubSpot Tips and Tricks. But what he really nails for us is he creates authentic, entertaining content. He knows his community and medium very intimately. He's ingrained in that community. He knows just what they're looking for, and he can be agile in creating it too. So that's a huge upside of that. Okay, so the second shift is to embrace that you're going to have to be in many channels and many formats. Really, the bottom line is that you can't just exist in one format or medium anymore. You need to be everywhere. And when you think about it this way, how you're consuming content, you're probably listening to it, you're watching it, you're reading it, you're in certain channels and apps. And so because of that, you can bet your customers are too. But when you think about the content you're creating, ask yourself, are you creating for all of those channels? And my guess is maybe not. I don't blame you, it's hard. And the good news though, is that it's getting a little easier with AI. We are headed toward a more multimedia world, but with AI, you no longer have to be learning Final Cut or Adobe Photoshop to be able to keep up, which wasn't sustainable. And now with the help of AI, you can definitely make a foray into these channels a lot more easily. So action items here. For any new channel or format, our belief is really that you just need to get started. So plenty of tools exist to help. We'll talk about the Content Hub ones, but really without any expertise in formatting, you can use AI to create content in any medium. And so I think the best way to get started is by repurposing what you know works. So you have existing content that resonates, repurpose some of that into other formats. And then for any new content that might be overwhelming, let's say you've never started a podcast before, or you're not that video editor, AI tools really can help you get started in honing and refining your expertise. Even if it's your age-old content like a blog, AI can help you be more efficient there. You are still the expert, but these tools help you with the efficiency piece. All right, next up is another kind of flavor of the shift in search. So we're seeing a shift in 10 blue links to one relevant answer. Google used to serve search optimized web pages for you to click and comb through, and now AI is doing that clicking and combing for you by surfacing one answer. And the question is then, what does this mean for search if today 60% of referral traffic comes from Google search? For one, experts are predicting a 25% dip in organic search traffic. We talked about this at the top of the call. And we are starting to see some of that. Many companies are seeing this dip. HubSpot transparently is among them. And then the question becomes, how do we rank for AI search results then? And really the answer lies in the fact that quality is now more important than ever. The stakes for quality are getting much higher. And if you think of it this way, of only being able to get one answer, you'd want content that is from specialists, it's data backed, has supporting media, is up to date, and is authoritative. Which really brings us to taking actions like focusing on fewer topics so that you can go deep on high quality specific content. You want to really start moving away from that top of the funnel content, mostly because AI overviews are doing this for you now. There's no more need for definition content, like what is an Excel chart, no more how-to content, how do I use an Excel chart, question content. These are all, again, content types in the educational content we've seen that now Google is answering for you, AI is answering for you. So instead, focus on those expertise-driven topics that you have a POV in and edify your content. We love acronyms. I'll expand that. So when I say edify, I mean you're focusing on your content's expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. And you can do that by providing some of the things we talked about on that last slide. Backing your claims with data, showcasing certifications, recognitions, and also developing multimedia support for content does enhance your chances of appearing in AI-powered snapshots. All right, last shift, personalize and optimize. So what does declining search mean for traffic we are getting? It means it's going to become much more precious. So personalizing and optimizing for the traffic you do get will become more and more important. Text, image, and video, all huge when they were added to the internet, but they're all one-to-many forms of communication. So they won't be highly relevant to all potential buyers. But with AI, the cost of creating personalized experiences is going way down. So you can imagine AI fueling many more personalized and interactive experiences for each buyer, which is where we believe we're headed. So let's create a scenario here. Where could this lead? Imagine a buyer concierge. You go to a website and you're greeted by a concierge. That concierge learns about you, tailors the most relevant content and experiences to you, and you could have AI agents really build out these deep, immersive experiences individually for each buyer as they progress through the journey. So if the marginal cost of developing new web experiences is getting closer to zero, this is a good example of a lightweight but engaging form of personalized experiences. So I'm going to play this. This is one of the jobs that a buyer's concierge could do for you in the future, but that you could build out even if you don't code using an LLM like Claude. Here, the prompt was creating a game. So these are the types of things that you could consider building, again, made much easier and facilitated by AI. And another way that you can create this personalized experience that is really going to be table stakes is language translation. Excuse me, one very basic thing that can be done here. With AI, there is really no reason that you can't easily translate your content into any language that you have traffic in. And we have AI translations in Content Hub, so plug there. So some possibilities here are really thanks to AI tools. You don't have to be highly technical to build out micro apps in an afternoon or a weekend to create some of these interactive experiences. Translations are easier and more accurate than ever with AI. And then of course, your traditional tools in HubSpot, like A/B testing, optimization with smart content, those are going to become more important than ever. So I'm going to take a breather. Is anyone else feeling more overwhelmed now? Yes, I think these shifts are, hand raise. I think these shifts are overwhelming. We're seeing this. So let's talk a little bit about how we help and how Content Hub is, we're building features to help the marketer here. So we've gone from a CMS-based hub to a complete content marketing platform because really the crux of this big shift is it's more than websites now. We need to be supporting marketers as they create and manage content of all types. And so before I do dive into the tools of Content Hub, I want to start talking about the AI element of Content Hub because that's one of the biggest changes that we have made to the platform. And we really think of AI as your entry-level employee. You want it to do the executing so that you can do more of the strategic thinking. AI is certainly going to be helpful for copying good marketing, but great marketing has a unique perspective. It has your perspective. The idea needs to come wholly from you, but the execution can be enhanced by AI. And here's some examples of that difference in practice. We have AI generates, but humans curate. AI analyzes data, but humans find insights in data. AI suggests while humans refine, and AI tests while humans learn. So our philosophy is really applied AI. We're not interested in the tech for tech's sake. We are in the business of helping you grow. So we take our AI and our content marketing knowledge, we blend that into the best implementation of AI for content marketers. And when we ask what that looks like in the product, to be honest, most AI outputs for content marketing aren't very good. And this is for a number of reasons. It's not the right model for the job. The prompt is missing information. The model doesn't know anything about your audience or you. And so we have all that context and we're working to automatically pass that to models for better AI outputs in HubSpot in our product. And what that really results in is a solution that's pretty different than using generic AI. So if you write a prompt like draft me an 800-word blog article for through chat GPT, you're going to get a pretty bad output. That's not very business informed for you. But if you put it through our applied AI, we think you're going to get a pretty good one. So that's the AI element of Content Hub. But let's talk about Content Hub as a whole. It's got 3 components. The first is applied AI. We just spent some time talking about that. Then there's the content platform, which we've spent 18 years working on creating content for the internet. So we know a lot about it. So this is all built on the same tech stack as our old CMS Hub, which, if some of you know, hosted over 100,000 websites, including HubSpot.com. Then you have the content experience at the top here, right? That are the pieces of content that a buyer views, engages with, and ultimately becomes a qualified lead and happy customer from. So these 3 elements of our platform are also how we pay off on our core beliefs, which are easy, fast, and unified. That's the solution you need to help you win. And so Content Hub is easy because it helps you create content across channels and formats. It's fast to create that content using AI, and then it's unified with the rest of your CRM. So now I think we're ready to dive into some of the Content Hub features that help you execute on those 4 shifts that we talked about earlier. First up is our content agent. So this is a really exciting addition. And it takes that entry-level employee analogy to a whole new level, because it's doing exactly the jobs that you might ask of an entry-level employee, like craft me a blog post, create me a landing page. And that's what it's doing here. And so this ties back to a number of shifts, but the biggest one is that it gives you time back to strategize by taking some of this execution off your plate. And the beauty is that it does this with different formats. I'll talk about some of the other formats beyond landing pages, but it also does it in your brand voice, which we'll also touch on. So a lot of coverage there, again, in this applied AI discussion. Then we have Content Remix, our fave. Content Remix is repurposing one piece of content across many channels, a big topic of discussion as we talked about shifts. And so this takes something like, again, your point of view and expertise that you've spent a lot of time on. Maybe you wrote a blog article, but from there you need to scale into those many formats and channels like we talked about. Content Remix lets you do that in minutes. So really helping you address that shift. Just gonna let the demo finish here. We're creating multi-language variations. Here you're seeing a little bit of our AI translations. Awesome. And then another significant update that came out of inbound as part of Content Remix is Video Remix. Super exciting. It takes any piece of video that you have. So let's use a webinar as an example, and you want to slice and dice that webinar to promote it on social. So if you upload it to Remix, it'll help you create not just that text-based content or other formats, it will create video clips for you as well so that you can execute and share to social and promote that webinar. So we support major aspect ratios, allow you to add captions. You saw in the demo there's editing within it, which is just a huge time saver and takes a lot of the overwhelm out of needing to edit the video. And then we have brand voice. So brand voice is where we analyze your existing content using AI, and we come up with your brand and tone and help you apply it. We've added a bunch of functionality as of inbound, like multiple voices for different channels, because I'm sure you've seen this for brands. If you're not applying it to your own, you might talk on social a little differently than you talk on your blog. Maybe you're more playful on social. We have more language support, and then we have brand rules. So if you saw there in the demo, there's a settings where you can specify what rules. I use these words and never these words. We don't want to mention these competitors. And so this is a great example, again, of applied AI. We know what you sound like, and we can make sure the AI outputs sound like you without you having to contextualize that prompt every single time. And then breaking into podcasts. Podcast is the content type supported by Content Agent. And it helps you, again, just get started. It takes out the overwhelm of a traditionally overwhelming content type. You don't even have to record your voice. AI can generate a voice for you. How much you do or don't want to do that, there's also the ability to record your voice, but this helps you with the outline, the scripting, again, scaling your expert first content type into other formats, which is huge. Yeah, and here we have a transcript generating in this demo before publishing your podcast. And then speaking of overwhelming content types, case studies also just got easier. Another content type supported by Content Agent. Case studies are so impactful. B2B businesses know this, but they are a lot of work. It's customer calls, it's summarizing those customer calls, it's making sure you have all the right inputs from that customer and touch points. And you just saw here on the demo, it's a matter of dumping all those documents into that file upload, and Content Agent will write your case study for you. Certainly you get in there and put the final touches, refine it, but just having that synthesizing happen for you is a huge time saver. And again, on a really impactful content type. And so for the personalized and optimized shift, I do want to give a nod to Content Embed, which allows you to personalize content across your website, whether it is HubSpot hosted or not. I actually have, if any of you watched Academy videos with Mark Hans, he gives a very quick snippet of this. So I'm just going to have him take it away.
If you're a marketer looking to unleash your content's full potential on any website and engage your audience everywhere, don't worry. HubSpot's Content Embed totally has you covered. It's your tool to create, distribute, and maintain personalized content across your HubSpot and WordPress pages. For example, here's a content embed I made for a landing page on my website. It's for sales teams that provides an overview of a sales technique, but I made a personalized version for CEOs. That way, if a contact of mine has this title CEO, they'll see this alternate version of the content that talks about preparing their sales teams. Once created, to embed this content, simply copy and paste the code provided into the HTML code on your website, or download the WordPress plugin to seamlessly embed on your WordPress site. Don't worry about losing your styles and branding, because the content embed will inherit your website styles automatically. If you're worried about search engine optimization, you're not alone in wondering. Rest assured, even when your content leaves the HubSpot ecosystem, popular search engine crawlers can still find it and list it in their search results. With Content Embed, marketers and developers can work in step to create personalized and dynamic content for your prospects, leads, and customers, all on your non-HubSpot sites and all from right inside of HubSpot.
I love our Academy professors. They bring the energy. So the next slide here that we have, I think it might start playing again. Okay, before we wrap up. That's a look at what we have built and we have available today. These were a lot of our spotlight and inbound announcements, but there's a ton more, and there's a ton more coming too. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the roadmap, show where we're headed tomorrow with a couple of major call outs. So you can see here that we're continuing to invest in each of these three core areas of our platform. Content types will continue to get better and more numerous. Obviously, we are continuing to make a big bet on AI. We already have, and we will continue. And then we'll continue building out the best content platform as well. And then as our tools mature, we want to strategically plug in partners too in areas where we can't or we won't play. So you'll see the Adobe Express integration on there. Adobe is great at creating sophisticated, rich media. And so for those of you who may outgrow our tools, we have a solution for you to be able to do that in one place. Lastly, looking forward, we're going to spend a good deal of time refining what we have, not just building the new stuff. So you'll see things like landing page there, blog, themes, and editors. We want to give those facelifts and make sure that we're continuing to pay attention to the bread and butter. So with that, I want to leave the rest of the time open for Q&A. I saw we did have a question come in on Content Embed, and this is where Lukas and I will tag team some of this. He's a little deeper on the technical knowledge, but yeah, maybe we can start with Sabrina's question. I'm assuming that means the web page has to be built in HubSpot in order to have that classification designation. within the HubSpot CRM. So the content itself would be built in HubSpot, but it doesn't have to be hosted by HubSpot, which is the big differentiator with Content Embed. Is now it can be certainly you can host on HubSpot and it will work, but Content Embed opens up this world of a WordPress hosted page or a third party, and you're able to kind of sync that information and that content.
I think where my confusion was, it was saying it shows different for the CEO versus another individual, and I was trying to figure out how it made that connection if it wasn't built within HubSpot, the whole thing.
Yeah, so the premise is, let's say that you have a WordPress page, your website is on WordPress.
Right.
And within the WordPress page, you want to have a section in the middle of the page where the messaging or the picture or the video or the content will be different depending on, what we know about the visitor of the page. So you would effectively build, you would keep your WordPress page, etc., but you would build out that centerpiece in HubSpot, and you would configure those rules, like with the smart rules about if CEO show this, if non-CEO show that, and then you can basically embed that block into your WordPress page. So yes, you would have to build out that piece specifically in HubSpot, but you wouldn't, that's the only part you would have to do in HubSpot. You can still keep everything else in WordPress, if that makes sense.
And it would do that because it's cookied, right? So you have that cookie for the contact depending on what it is. So now your WordPress site could see it instead of just the HubSpot site.
That's the part I was missing. So thanks.
Right.
I was like, how's it getting that individual part? Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that answers the second question that came in too.
Yeah, being able to use the smart content on other content platforms is huge. And I think as we've been using HubSpot CMS for a bazillion years, and I know a few of our other attendees have too. That shift on thinking of Content Hub not as hosting your content can be a little bit weird, but this just allows more and more people to use it. But of course, if you're like us and you use CMS, you love it. So you're probably not gonna go move off. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. We've definitely had to do some work on our side around Content Hub is more than just a CMS Hub rebrand. Certainly, yes, it's all the things we know and love about CMS Hub, but it's so much more, all the features we walked through, because again, we're building for the marketer to adapt to these shifts, that it's not just about blogging and your website, it's about podcasts, videos, etc. So
I have a similar question for content that you have that might not be hosted in HubSpot. Let's say we have, our different influencers on our team that have different content and different channels. Can we take a blog post written by someone else on a different platform and upload that into Content Hub to do the remix, or does it have to be HubSpot content to remix?
I'm happy to answer that question with a recent update that we made based on feedback. Now you can do that. You can remix from a URL. So previously, before inbound, you did have to kind of maintain the HubSpot ecosystem to remix. And if not, it was a copy paste. But now you can use a URL and remix anything.
Amazing. David has a good question.
Yes, good question. So David's asking, is Content Hub included with my Marketing Hub professional account, or do I have to pay extra for that? So Content Hub is a separate hub for Marketing Hub. They are close companions, so close that we have a SKU that allows you to purchase them bundled together for a discount. So that currently is called a Marketing Plus SKU. It's undergoing some name changing, but yes, we keep them separate, but we know how important they are together to function. So we have this bundled SKU.
And what if you already have CMS Hub? How does that transition happen?
Yeah, so CMS Hub would require a purchase and an upgrade to Content Hub. It's a very nominal one for all the value that you get. I scribbled some numbers down here so that I didn't get it wrong off the top of my head with all the different tiers, but I'll give you an example from CMS Pro to Content Hub Pro. It's a difference of $100.
And I think it's also worth saying that we didn't take any functionality away from CMS Hub.
Yeah.
So, you wanted to create blogs, website pages, landing pages, etc. You were able to do that before. You can still do it now. However, a lot of new features we're releasing, like podcasts, brand voice, remix, content embeds, etc. That functionality is now exclusively for our Content Hub customers.
Exactly. And I think a lot of folks will see remix and be like, all right, done. That's $100 value there. And I think it is such a powerful tool. All the other tools are also very powerful, but when you think about kind of what you get for that upgrade, pretty significant.
Steph, did the sleep whisperer get your baby to sleep?
It took us a little longer than hoped. The course didn't solve all of our problems, but he has, knock on wood, been sleeping through the night, which, yeah, makes a big difference in my day. So,
any other questions from anyone here? I would like to ask you all a question. Who has made or is thinking of making the shift of your brand as the authority to having more, thought leaders on your team out there doing their own personal branding to be the thought leader? Yeah, David has a good comment there. The platforms and how they relate to each other is a bit confusing. And, David, I know you have CMS Hub and Marketing Pro, and just how Content Hub fits in there is a bit of a challenge. And we've been working with some of our other clients on just how to manage that change, because it's not just like extra $100, here we go, because it's actually changing the agreement that you have, and contracts change. So it is worth it, but I'd recommend talking to your HubSpot rep for that, and they'll give you the best change of action for that. And you will want to consider the change in HubSpot pricing model. They've changed over to the seats model, and that may affect it too. But we're all going to get moved over to the new pricing model and the new plans in time. So even if you don't make this change right now, it'll come, but it's going to be a little bit staggered. And HubSpot, you guys can call me out on that one if I got anything wrong.
No, I think that sounded right, and I appreciate the candid feedback here around how it feels a little confusing and the increasing cost for features that could help. I'd love to, David, if you don't mind, is there anything you want to expand on around that confusion beyond what Tanya just said? And then Sabrina, if you wanted to talk about some of the features that feel so awesome, but in particular that you feel are hard to kind of justify.
I can say that I like what you've been showing us, and every time I attend one of these, I think the features, if we could just get something to help our workers work quicker and more efficiently, the better we're going to do. We are a small nonprofit, so we don't have a lot of people and a lot of time to do everything that we want to do. And I like the embed. I like the content thing that we just talked about. I like the remix. I could see a very good case on all of these, but we're small. We can't justify keep adding on to these things. So that's where we stand at the moment, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, definitely. Appreciate that. And then, David, I feel like I've already invested a lot in HubSpot. Yep, not a whole new platform. Yeah, you're right. It isn't a whole new platform. And I think that's why we did try to make that differential between CMS Hub and Content Hub not super significant, because it is built on that same content platform like we talked about. So yeah, I'd be happy to chat a little bit more with you, David, if you want to provide more feedback. This is the type of stuff that's really helpful for us as we price, package, position. And as a product marketer, I'm really interested in that. So yeah, like I said, appreciate the feedback in the chat.
Chime in. As an agency, these tools help us deliver more. To go from just writing blog posts to do multi-channel distribution, we can't go back to our clients and be like, we need an extra $20,000 every month to start doing video production and podcasts. And this helps us keep our clients up to speed because, whether you're a nonprofit or, organizations doing this thing, like we all feel that time and budget crunch. So we've seen this really help with being able to diversify while keeping budgets in check. But if you guys have any questions on like how this works in real life, you want to get around and play it in action, definitely reach out. I can help, get hands-on with you and show you a few things. If you have questions about how that upgrading or like reshifting works, definitely you can feel free to reach out to me on that as well, because we have helped a few clients go through that migration already. And I will share Steph's contact email. I didn't get your permission for that, but if that's cool, yeah. I can share your contact info after. You can reach out to her with all your questions as well. We'll send a recording of this presentation after with all of our info, so definitely reach out if you have any follow-up questions. Amelia, we will send the slides. Well, I don't know if like the standalone slides, but it'll be in with the recording, so you'll get a copy of all of that as well.
Yeah. And then I did see Adrian asked a good question here, not to put you on the spot, Lukas.
Do we have time for me to answer Adrian's question? Otherwise, I'm happy to follow up afterwards if not.
Yeah, I think we do have time. Was this an hour?
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Yep. So the question, so for the new content types like case studies and podcasts, how is it going to affect custom themes or these new page types? So for case studies specifically, think of them as a new content type similar to website pages, landing pages, blog posts with their own management UI, their own creation flow, their own set of analytics. Because it's a new content type, we don't support custom themes yet. So when you're creating a case study right now, the main template you would be able to use is part of the Elevate theme, which is a new theme that HubSpot has built. The product team is thinking about how to make that product more extensible so that it would be compatible with custom templates and themes in the future, but it's not compatible yet. So for now, it's limited to the Elevate theme. And then for podcasts, podcasts are interesting. The main use case we are seeing right now is that customers will basically host their podcast in HubSpot, and then we provide modules that you can put on your page. And those modules should be compatible with any theme or template. We are thinking about a feature where we would automatically generate a page for your podcast that includes all your shows, all your episodes, and it automatically gets refreshed as you publish new podcast content. Similar to case studies, we're probably going to start off with the Elevate theme and template only, but over time, we are thinking about how to make that possible and how to support custom templates as well. I hope that helps. So not there yet, but definitely on the radar, and it's something we are thinking about.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too that the Elevate theme is a new theme as of inbound. And so there were updates made to the default theme, and it looks pretty sleek, but to Lukas's point, still more work to be done on being able to enable custom themes.
Awesome. And I think on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you for joining us. Steph, Lukas, thank you so much for coming and speaking to our hub. And we hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Bye, folks.
Bye.